I think so, Chidi said slowly. It's not about pretending everyone has the same job. It's about recognizing everyone has the same worth. Exactly. Emmanuel's face lit up. You're a quick learner. Your Oxford education is showing. Wharton, Chidi corrected with a small smile. Ah, yes, Wharton. Forgive an old man's memory. Emmanuel placed a hand on Chidi's shoulder. Come back next Saturday. Listen to the stories. You might learn something they didn't teach you at Wharton. Chidi did come back, and the next Saturday, and the one after that. Each week he heard stories that shook his worldview. He heard from a domestic worker named Ngozi, who had a degree in economics but couldn't find work because she didn't have connections. She took a job as a house help to survive, and for 3 years her employer treated her like she was stupid, incapable of understanding anything beyond cooking and cleaning. Until one day, the employer was struggling with her personal finances, and Ngozi quietly offered advice that saved her from bankruptcy. Only then did the employer learn about Ngozi's education. Only then did she start treating her differently. But that's the problem, Ngozi said, her voice passionate. She only respected me after she knew I had a degree. What about all the other house helps who don't have degrees? Don't they deserve respect too? Why does my worth depend on my credentials? Chidi heard from a security guard named Adekunle, who had worked for the same company for 20 years. Not once in 20 years had anyone asked him about his life. Not once had anyone remembered his birthday. Not once had anyone noticed when he came to work injured because he couldn't afford to miss a day. He was furniture, invisible, until the Gateman Revolution started, and suddenly, for the first time in 2 decades, people started saying, "Good morning, Adekunle," instead of just, "Good morning." "Do you know what that does to a man's spirit?" Adekunle asked, tears in his eyes. "To be invisible for 20 years? To stand there day after day watching people pass by like you don't exist? I started believing it myself. Started thinking maybe I don't matter. Maybe I'm just security man, not a person, not Adekunle, just a function." Chidi heard from a driver named Emeka who had a master's degree in literature but couldn't find teaching work. He drove for a wealthy family and for 5 years listened to the children complain about their English homework. He could have helped them. He wanted to help them, but he knew if he revealed his education, they would be embarrassed that their driver was more educated than them. So he stayed quiet, playing the role of the simple driver, dying a little inside each time they struggled with grammar he could easily explain. Story after story, life after life, each one challenging Chidi's assumptions about how the world worked, about who mattered and who didn't, about what success really meant. One evening, Chidi went home to his father's mansion in Ikoyi. The security guard opened the gate as usual, but this time, instead of driving past, Chidi stopped his car and rolled down his window. "Good evening," he said. "What's your name?" The security guard looked shocked, as if Chidi had asked him something in a foreign language. "Sir? Your name. I've been living here for 3 months since I came back from America. I've never asked your name. I'm asking now." "Idou, sir. My name is Idou." "Idou. That's a good name. How long have you worked here?" 7 years, sir." 7 years. This man had opened the gate for his family for 7 years, and Chidi had never known his name, never asked about his life, never seen him as anything more than the security guard. "Idou, do you have a family?" The man's face transformed. Someone was asking. Someone wanted to know. "Yes, sir. Wife and 3 children, 2 boys, 1 girl." "How old are they?" 15, 12, and 9, sir." "The 15-year-old, is he in school?" "Yes, sir. He just finished JAM. He wants to study engineering." "That's wonderful. I hope he gets into a good university." Idou's eyes glistened with moisture. "Thank you, sir. You're the first person in this house to ever ask about my children." Chidi felt shame wash over him. 7 years. This man had been part of their lives for 7 years, and not once had anyone in his family treated him like a human being with a life, with dreams, with children of his own. "Idou," Chidi said quietly, "I'm sorry. I should have asked long ago. I should have known your name. I should have seen you. I'm going to do better." The next day, Chidi did something that shocked his father. During their morning meeting to discuss business, Chidi brought up something completely unexpected. "Dad, what's our security guard's name?" Chief Okonkwo looked up from his newspaper, confused. "Which one?" "The one at our house, the man who's been opening our gate for 7 years." Chief Okonkwo shrugged. "How should I know? Why does it matter?" "It matters because he's a person. His name is Ido. He has 3 children. His oldest son just finished JAM and wants to study engineering." Chief Okonkwo put down his newspaper, his expression hardening. "You've been going to those ridiculous gate conversations, haven't you? That nonsense that Mrs. Okafor started. I told you to stay away from that." "Why?" Chidi challenged. "Why is it nonsense to treat people with respect?" "It's not about respect. It's about maintaining order. You start getting familiar with the help, they forget their place. They start making demands. They become lazy. This is business, Chidi, not a charity." "Is it business to not know the name of someone who's worked for you for 7 years?" Chief Okonkwo's voice rose. "I pay him. I pay him very well. What more does he want?" "To be seen, Dad. To be acknowledged as a human being. To have someone ask about his children. Is that really too much?" "You've become soft. America has made you soft. When I was building this business, I didn't have feelings and sentiments. I worked hard. I made tough decisions. That's how you succeed." Chidi took a deep breath. "Dad, are you happy?" The question caught Chief Okonkwo off guard. "What? Are you happy? You have money, you have success, you have everything you wanted, but are you happy?" Chief Okonkwo looked away. "Happiness is for children. Adults have responsibilities." "That's not an answer." There was a long silence. Finally, Chief Okonkwo spoke, his voice quieter now. "When your mother died, none of my business associates came to comfort me. They sent flowers, sent cards, but no one actually came. You know who sat with me that night? Who made sure I ate something? Who stayed until dawn just so I wouldn't be alone?" "Who?" Chidi asked, though he suspected he knew the answer. "Our housekeeper, Patience. She had worked for us for 10 years, and I had never once had a real conversation with her. But that night, she stayed. She prayed for me. She reminded me that grief is what makes us human. And I realized I had spent 10 years in the same house with this woman and never really known her, never asked about her life, never treated her as anything more than an employee." Chief Okonkwo's eyes were distant, remembering. "After that night, I started trying. I learned her name, really learned it, not just as the housekeeper, but as Patience. I asked about her family. I found out she had been sending money back to her village to support her sister's children because her sister had died of malaria." He looked at his son. "So yes, I know what you're talking about. I know what that Emmanuel man is teaching. And part of me knows he's right. But it's hard, Chidi. It's hard to change when you've lived one way for so long. It's hard to admit you've been wrong for decades." Chidi moved closer to his father. "So start now, today. It's never too late to change." That evening, for the first time in 7 years, Chief Okonkwo went out to the gate himself. Ido nearly fell over in shock when he saw the big Oga approaching. "Good evening, Ido," Chief Okonkwo said, extending his hand. Ido shook it, bewildered. "Good evening, sir. My son tells me your oldest wants to study engineering." "Yes, sir." "Which university did he apply to?" "University of Lagos and Obafemi Awolowo. Both good schools. When the results come out, let me know. If he gets in, I want to help with the fees." Ido's eyes glistened with moisture. "Sir, I don't know what to say." "Don't say anything. Just thank you. For 7 years of faithful service. For being here, rain or shine. For doing your job well. I should have said this a long time ago."
As Chief Okonkwo walked back to his house, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. Lighter, freer, as if a weight he didn't know he was carrying had been lifted. The Gateman Revolution was spreading in unexpected ways. It wasn't just about domestic workers and security guards anymore. It was about a fundamental shift in how people related to each other across all kinds of boundaries. A young doctor at Lagos University Teaching Hospital started a program where medical staff and patients' families ate meals together, breaking down the barrier between medical professional and worried family member. The result was better communication, better care, and better outcomes. A pastor at a large church in Lekki stopped sitting in a special chair elevated above everyone else. Instead, he moved his seat to the same level as the congregation. "If I'm your shepherd," he said, "I should be among the sheep, not above them." A teacher at a private school in Victoria Island began a program where she invited parents from all economic backgrounds to share their life experiences with the students. The children learned from the market woman about economics, from the taxi driver about geography, from the tailor about mathematics and measurements. They learned that knowledge exists everywhere, not just in textbooks and degrees. The revolution wasn't always smooth. There were setbacks. Some companies implemented dignity policies only for public relations, then quietly continued their old ways. Some people paid lip service to equality while maintaining the same old hierarchies. Some dismissed the entire movement as naive idealism that would never work in the real world. But the movement persisted, because once people start seeing each other, really seeing each other, it's hard to go back to blindness. Once you've looked into someone's eyes and recognized their humanity, it's difficult to treat them as less than human again. Mrs. O's company had become a model that others studied. Business schools used it as a case study. International media wrote articles about it. But the most meaningful recognition came from the people who worked there. One day, Mrs. O received a letter. It was from Joy, the cleaner whose photograph hung in the lobby. The letter was simple but profound. "Dear Madam, I have been cleaning offices for 12 years. In all those years, I was invisible. People walked past me like I was air. They dropped trash and expected me to pick it up without thinking about me as a person who has feelings, who has dreams, who has dignity. I started believing it myself. Started thinking that's all I was, a cleaner, nothing more. But here, in this company, something different happened. On my first day, you came to me yourself. You shook my hand. You asked my name. You asked about my family. You looked me in the eyes, and you saw me. Every morning when I come to work now, I see my photograph in the lobby, same size as yours, same respect, and I stand a little taller. I smile a little brighter. I work with pride, not because I have to, but because I want to, because I finally feel like I matter. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for teaching everyone here to see each other. You changed my life not by giving me charity, but by giving me something more valuable. You gave me dignity. Your grateful employee, Joy." Mrs. O read the letter 3 times, tears streaming down her face. This was success. Not the billions in her bank account or the awards on her shelf. This was real success, changing someone's life by simply recognizing their humanity. She went to find Emmanuel, who was at the community center as usual, talking with a group of young people about career development. When he saw her face, he excused himself and came to her. "What's wrong?" he asked with concern. She handed him the letter. He read it slowly, his old eyes taking in every word. When he finished, he smiled that gentle smile. "You understand now," he said simply. "I do," she whispered. "I finally do. Success isn't about how much you achieve for yourself. It's about how many lives you touch, how many people you help see their own worth, how many people you lift up simply by acknowledging their humanity." "Yes," Emmanuel nodded. "And the beautiful thing is, it costs nothing. A greeting costs nothing. A smile costs nothing. Remembering someone's name costs nothing. Treating people with respect costs nothing. But the value it creates is infinite." They stood together, teacher and student, old man and CEO, but really just 2 human beings who had learned to see. "Emmanuel," Mrs. O said after a moment, "do you ever wonder what would have happened if you hadn't taken that gateman job, if we had never met?" Emmanuel considered the question. I would have continued my comfortable retirement, and you would have continued your comfortable success. We both would have been fine, but we wouldn't have been fulfilled. Because fulfillment doesn't come from comfort, it comes from purpose, from connection, from remembering that we're all part of the same human family. He looked at her with those wise, kind eyes. Mrs. Okafor, do you remember what you said to me at that garden party when you tried to humiliate me? She winced at the memory. Yes, I'm still ashamed of it. Don't be, because that moment of humiliation was actually a moment of liberation. It freed you from your own prison, the prison of pride, the prison of thinking you were better than others, the prison of forgetting where you came from. Sometimes we need to be humbled before we can truly be elevated. But I hurt you, she said. You hurt yourself more, he replied gently. I was fine. I knew who I was, but you had forgotten who you were, and that's a much worse wound. They walked together through the community center, past the library where a former security guard was now teaching computer skills to other workers, past the training hall where domestic workers were learning new skills, past the counseling center where people could get support for whatever challenges they faced. This, Emmanuel said, gesturing around them, this is what happens when one person decides to change, when one person decides to see. It spreads like ripples in water. Your change changed your company changed other companies, those companies changed their employees changed their families, those families changed their communities. One person, one decision, infinite ripples. Mrs. O thought about that 8-year-old girl selling oranges who had changed Emmanuel's life by asking him to simply see her. She thought about how Emmanuel had changed her life by opening her eyes. She thought about how she had changed Joy's life and Blessing's life and countless others, all connected, all part of one continuous chain of humanity recognizing humanity. What's your next dream? Emmanuel asked. Mrs. O smiled. I want to build schools. Not fancy private schools for the wealthy, schools in poor communities, schools where every child is valued, where every potential is recognized, where no one is invisible. Schools that don't just teach subjects, but teach humanity. Emmanuel's eyes lit up. That's beautiful, and I think I know just the place to start. Do you remember I mentioned that 8-year-old girl selling oranges? Yes, I never forgot where I saw her. It was in Makoko, the floating slum. That community has no proper school. Children there grow up believing they don't matter, that they're not worth investing in. What if we change that? Mrs. O's mind was already racing with possibilities. Yes, yes, we'll build a school there. Not a charity school where we do things for them, a dignity school where we build things with them, where we recognize that those children have the same potential as children in Ikoyi or Victoria Island. They just need opportunity. And respect, Emmanuel added. They need someone to believe in them, to see them, to tell them they matter. They began planning immediately. Mrs. O would provide the funding, Emmanuel would provide the vision and wisdom, but more importantly, they would involve the Makoko community itself. This wouldn't be another project done to the poor, it would be a project done with them, recognizing their agency, their intelligence, their dignity. 6 months later, the Dignity Academy opened its doors in Makoko. It was built on floating platforms, adapted to the unique reality of the water community, but it was sturdy, well-equipped, and beautiful. Not because beauty was a luxury, but because every child deserves to learn in a beautiful space, because environment sends a message, and the message this school sent was you matter, you're worth investing in, your education is valuable. On opening day, hundreds of people gathered for the ceremony. Government officials came, media came, but the guests of honor were the children of Makoko themselves, dressed in their new school uniforms, eyes wide open with wonder and possibility.
Emmanuel gave a short speech. This school is built on a simple belief that every child,
no matter where they're born, no matter their circumstances, has infinite potential, has dignity, has worth. Some of you will become doctors, some will become engineers, some will become artists, some will become entrepreneurs, and some will become teachers who will teach the next generation of children that they matter. He paused, looking at the sea of young faces. But whatever you become, remember this. Your worth is not determined by your job or your bank account or your title. Your worth is inherent. You matter because you exist. You matter because you're human. Never let anyone make you feel invisible. Never let anyone tell you that you don't count, because you do. You absolutely do. Mrs. O added, and remember, some of the people who will help you in life might be wearing security guard uniforms, or cleaning offices, or driving taxis. Don't judge people by their jobs. See them, respect them, learn from them, because wisdom exists everywhere, and dignity has no dress code. Among the children in the audience was a young girl, maybe 9 years old, with bright eyes and a determined expression. She raised her hand. Yes, Mrs. O said with a smile. Auntie, when I grow up and become successful, how will I remember to treat people with respect? How will I remember not to become proud? The question hung in the air, profound in its simplicity. Out of the mouths of children, indeed. Emmanuel answered, You'll remember because of today, because of this school, because of this lesson. You'll remember that someone believed in you when you were young, someone invested in you, someone told you that you mattered. And when you're successful, you'll want to do the same for others. You'll want to be the person who sees people the way you were seen. The girl nodded seriously, as if making a solemn promise to her future self. The Dignity Academy became more than a school. It became a symbol, proof that change was possible, proof that dignity wasn't just a nice idea, but a practical reality, proof that when you treat people like they matter, they rise to meet that expectation. Within 2 years, the students were outperforming many students in expensive private schools, not because they were smarter, but because they were motivated, because they had teachers who believed in them, because they had an environment that told them daily, you are worthy of excellence. But the real transformation was deeper than test scores. It was in the way students carried themselves, with confidence, with dignity, with the unshakable knowledge that they mattered. One day, Mrs. O received a call from an unexpected person. It was Chief Okonkwo. Mrs. Okafor, he said gruffly, I want to fund another Dignity Academy in another poor community. Can we meet to discuss? Mrs. O was stunned. This was the man who had dismissed the Gateman Revolution as nonsense, the man who had warned his son away from the movement. Chief Okonkwo, I'm surprised. I'm surprised too, he admitted, but my son changed, and watching him change made me realize I needed to change too. I've spent 40 years building wealth. Maybe it's time I spent some years building dignity. They met the next week. Chief Okonkwo, Mrs. O, Emmanuel, and Chidi, 3 generations of business leaders, and one old professor who had opened more than gates, he had opened hearts and minds. I want to apologize, Chief Okonkwo said without preamble. Years ago, at that CEO forum, I mocked this movement. I said terrible things. I was wrong, completely wrong. Emmanuel smiled gently. There's no need for apology. What matters is not where you were, but where you are now, and that you're willing to be part of the solution. They planned a second Dignity Academy, then a third, then a fourth. Other wealthy Nigerians joined the effort, not as charity, but as investment. Investment in human dignity. Investment in the truth that every child, every person, deserves to be seen, to be valued, to be given opportunity. The movement spread beyond Lagos, to Abuja, to Port Harcourt, to Kano, to small villages and large cities. Everywhere, the message was the same. Every person matters. Every person deserves dignity. Every person should be seen. 5 years after that fateful garden party, Emmanuel's health began to decline. He was 71 years old now, and time was catching up with him. He moved more slowly, tired more easily, but his spirit remained as strong as ever. Mrs. O visited him often, bringing him food, keeping him company, reversing their old roles. Now she was the one serving him, caring for him. One afternoon, as they sat together in his modest living room, he had never moved to a bigger house despite his wealth. He said something that made her pause. "Emmanuel, no. What is it?" "I'm dying." The words hit him like a physical blow. "No, Emmanuel, we'll get you the best doctors, the best treatment." He held up his hand gently. "I'm 71 years old. I've lived a full life, a good life, and I'm ready. But before I go, I want you to promise me something." Tears streamed down her face. "Anything. Promise me you'll continue this work, not just the schools, but the revolution, the simple daily practice of seeing people, of treating everyone with dignity. Promise me you won't forget. Promise me you won't let success make you blind again." "I promise," she whispered. "I promise, Emmanuel. I won't forget. I'll never forget. And promise me you'll teach others, your children, your employees, anyone who will listen. The revolution doesn't end with me. It doesn't end with you. It continues, generation after generation, each person choosing to see, to respect, to love. I promise." He smiled, that gentle, wise smile she had come to love so much. "Then I can rest easy. My work is done. Not because everything is fixed, it never will be completely, but because the seed has been planted. And you, Mrs. O, you and others like you, you'll water that seed. You'll help it grow. And one day, maybe not in our lifetime, but someday, everyone will understand. Everyone will see each other. Everyone will treat each other with the dignity we all deserve." Emmanuel passed away 3 weeks later, peacefully in his sleep. His funeral was unlike any Lagos had ever seen. Presidents and gatemen stood side by side. CEOs and cleaners shared the same pews. Professors and primary school dropouts mourned together. The church was packed, but they had set up speakers outside for the thousands who couldn't fit inside. Rich and poor, educated and illiterate, powerful and powerless, all united in grief, all united in gratitude for a man who had taught them to see. Mrs. O gave the eulogy. Her voice broke multiple times, but she pushed through. Emmanuel was many things: a brilliant economist, a loving father, a dedicated teacher. But what he was most was human, fully, completely, beautifully human, and he had the gift of recognizing that humanity in everyone he met. He didn't see gatemen or CEOs, he saw Emmanuel and Chidinma. He didn't see cleaners or doctors, he saw joy and people with names, with stories, with infinite worth. He taught us that the greatest revolution isn't political or economic. It's the revolution of the heart, the revolution that happens when we choose to see each other, really see each other. Emmanuel's legacy isn't in the books he wrote or the policies he influenced. His legacy is in the changed hearts, in the security guard who now stands a little taller, in the CEO who now greets her employees by name, in the child in Makoko who now believes she can become anything, in every person who learned from him that they matter, that they're seen, that they're loved. Death ends a life, but it doesn't end a relationship. Emmanuel will live on in every kind word we speak, in every time we choose to see instead of look past, in every moment we recognize someone's dignity. He will live on in this revolution that he started, not with weapons or politics, but with simple human kindness. She looked out at the sea of faces, all different, all equal, all mourning the same man. Emmanuel once told me that we're connected, that every act of kindness creates ripples that spread infinitely. Today, looking at all of you, I see those ripples. Each of you is part of his legacy. Each of you carries forward his message. Each of you has the power to continue this revolution. So let us honor Emmanuel not with tears alone, but with action. Let us live the way he taught us. Let us see each other. Let us treat every person, no matter what their station in life, with dignity and respect. Let us build a Nigeria, an Africa, a world where no one is invisible, where everyone matters, where dignity is not a privilege